Army, man, there's a lot of good-looking trucks here. You're having a pretty nice one yourself.
Well, I tell you what, looks like you caught on to this four-wheel and off-road jamboree fan real quick yourself. You know, in Lima, Ohio, each year over 1,500 trucks gather from as far away as Florida to compete to find out who has the best 4x4 truck in America.
I know there's more than show and shine. There's got to be some competition.
Yeah, they got a competition area over here. As a matter of fact, in just a few minutes, they're supposed to be running the Class 6 mud racers.
Well, we got to get a place to park. I ain't missing this.
Hey, is there any base down there?
I haven't found anything, but I'll check down here.
Okay.
Can't start a Trucks and Tractor Power without a place to park, but we did find one and we're ready to go. It's time for some mud racing in Lima, Ohio. When it comes to mud racing in the Allen County Fairgrounds, most racers agree that this is a track that's too tough to tame. Case in point, Rob Marshall in Beating the Odds. Competing in last year's Class 6 competition, Rob entered the shutdown area looking to make a slide correction, but the slide opportunity never came. Rob took a wild ride as the car developed a mind of its own, end rolling and completely shedding the body. The chassis holds true to form, though, as Marshall was able to race the same car 1 week later. In today's competition, however, Rob looks to be the one beating the odds. He will come out of the same lane that took a bite out of him here last year. Army?
David, another fella that's tasted a bite of that left lane at Lima, Ohio. The vehicle, the axle breaker. Charlie Durbin doing the driving in the Class 5 competition. Flip it end over end, coming out of the left lane, just like your man over there. But he attributes the flip to the fact that it was a real dry area he was trying to shut down in. He could not actually slide the car. You got to remember, when you come out of these pits, you need to be able to slide them to scruff off speed. Charlie flipped the vehicle. They stayed up all night long, got it back together. It looks like they're going to make the Class 6 call, but the word in the pit area is, you better come out of this pit straight, or you might wind up just like the axle breaker.
Well, all of these drivers, like Mike Comella and Bonkers, you see here, getting ready to go. They're well aware of the spills we've seen here in Lima.
Well, Rodney Covington in the mud rat. Now, this guy took one of the wildest rides we've ever seen here at the Allen County Fairgrounds.
And Dan Brown, what a violent crash he had in Bloomsburg last season. All these guys have had to jump back on the horse that's bit them. Let's hope we have a good, safe day of racing here today.
The Allen County Fairgrounds notorious for that shutdown area. The guys can go real fast through the mud, but when they get into the shutdown area, it's a hard packed mud. Jeremy Finley's going to be coming out of the Bluefield, West Virginia area in the S-Kicker. He'll be going up against the Ford-powered Boss.
That's right, Jeff Myers in this 1927 Ford for the 575 Ford power plant. He comes to us out of Holland, Michigan, driving the Boss.
Whoa, Finley comes out there like a rocket. He gets it shut down okay on that big end. Meanwhile, in the other lane, the Boss Ford of Jeff Myers not going to make it through. Now, that'll make them real bad ruts for those that are sitting in the lanes behind him. Let's go down trackside. I believe Dave caught up with Jeremy Finley.
Wildman Finley, a great first run out of the near lane, a 2.74.
Yeah, it was a good run. It hooked up once it got off the line, went out the other end flying.
We'll just step aside, stand on some high ground while they clean up this mess. We'll be back with more mud action. Stay tuned.
There you go. Well, you know, these fans know a thing or two about tailgating, but we're mud racing, so let's send it over to a guy who knows a thing or two about mud.
David, you're looking at the starting line 180 feet away from where I'm standing right now. I want you to notice how dark the mud is they actually run in. Then they come out of the mud past the finish line, and look at the clay surface here, how light it is. Plus, look how hard it is. Now, you got to remember, in mud racing, these guys want to come out of this pit and turn the vehicle sideways to scuff off speed. So the track officials have actually come outside the track area, and if you'll notice now, they've watered down the shutdown area. What this does, it allows the drivers to get a good run, come out of the pit, have 30 feet to get the vehicle straight, and then throw it into a slide to scuff off the speed if they need to do so.
Or in this case, get the vehicles out of the bog. The Boss machine of Jeff Myers is out, so we continue now with Roger Sherwood in the stressed out machine.
He'll be going up against Mike Comella, the guy who won the cut tire class here. So Camella's got to read on the track. There's the NMRO official who always ducks when he throws the button. He's the starter. Camella almost goes over. Very wisely backpedals on the vehicle, took the timing equipment out, but he's going to be able to walk away from this one.
Meanwhile, Roger Sherwood, him stressed out, runs a 2:86 on the ET time, but that left lane posing some problems, Army.
Well, Camella's in the left lane. Remember the guy in front of him, the boss, he didn't go all the way through. You can see right there where that vehicle stopped. He just hooked a rut bad. Now that lane should be bad for the rest of the day until somebody can go through and make it straight ruts, like a railroad track, Dave.
Well, it certainly was everything he could do to get that machine stopped. Army caught up with him as soon as it did.
Mike, the motor was hitting hard. It looked like you had this thing on kill. What happened out there at half track?
Yeah, we had it on kill. We wanted to win today, and hooked a rut, left real hard. I hooked that rut, and it just pulled the car right. Nothing I could do but hold on and just keep it upright, and that's all we were trying to do.
Out of curiosity now, they do not groom the track in between runs. What's this going to do for the competitors behind you in the very same lane? You hooked a rut, but you left some ruts going out of bounds. Is that going to make that a bad lane for the rest of the day?
It might, but, you know, if you take it a little bit to the left, I think they might be all right. I think the right lane is a little bit better today, though.
Well, a little mud in the eye for Mike Comella as Shane back, and the attitude adjuster comes to us now in the near lane. 2 years ago, he flipped right here, but this is a new car, the 23 Ultra T body style that's so popular with many of these mud racers, Army.
Well, he'll be going up against none other than Decatur, Illinois' own Fred Wilhite in the other lane. That's Colonel Shane back, by the way. He is an auctioneer out of the Bluegrass State.
Of course, he won this event a year ago, did Fred Wilhite. Time to beat a 274.
And each one of these guys are capable of doing that, Dave. Oh, what a ride. Back's in trouble. He's going to high side it, David. He goes over.
Holy cow, Shane back. And the attitude adjuster gets a little attitude adjustment himself.
He's moving around in the vehicle, but as he's starting to climb out. But on the other side, you can't see Fred Wilhite, who he's racing. He's going to be the first on the scene. He comes over to check his buddy out.
Well, 2.479. How about that? First to greet him, Fred Wilhite, as we mentioned, is that look over the bent car. The fans sure love this one.
Shane, Fred comes over and immediately grabs, make sure you're okay. The safety crew's right on hand, but do you have any idea what caused it? Is it that Lima rut you hook when you come out of this track?
It's that Lima rut, Army. I did that about, not last year, but year before. I flipped out of the other lane. Now I flipped out of this lane, so we're 1 for 1, I guess.
Are you okay?
Oh, yeah, just fine.
Fred, I noticed you guys run hard against each other. You were the first guy over here. To go to the line, you guys put the war paint on, but when you go out of this pit, you're good friends, aren't you?
Yeah, I knew that was going to be a hell of a side-by-side run. We both run strong, but his car didn't look right when I come out of the finish line. I seen what it was.
I'm glad you're both okay, fellas.
And a testament to the sport as we get to see here on replay once again. The attitude adjuster 2.5 times, maybe 3 times over the top, but the cage holds, Army.
Yeah, and he actually landed on the cage. What he did, he slid through the water they had down there to make it slippery. He actually slid through it and then hooked it. And what do you call it in sprint car racing? That's nothing more than old-style high side.
Yep, he hopped the cushion, and he did so, as we said, 2.5 times, but fortunately, Shane does crawl out uninjured, but the car, a little different story.
Yeah, but we will give him a 9.75 in style points, I guess.
Certainly. Well, a man who's no stranger to flipping a car, none of these guys are, but Charlie Durbin surely not. He flipped in the Class 5 competition, the axle breaker out of New Albany, Indiana.
Now, sitting in the other lane will be Dave Check. He'll be driving the Super Jeep vehicle. A lot of people like this Jeep style. I say a Jeep, it's a Jeep appearing as a fiberglass replica. Remember the opening when we used this vehicle, and I told you that he had to get out of this pit straight if he was going to make a good run and not flip.
A good side-by-side. Hold on! Oh, how about that for irony? Charlie Durbin keeps it straight, and he still gets banged up as David Chick slides over. Army, the only 2 cars that aren't smashed up, it seems like, are the ones we rode in earlier.
He came out of there and said, right turn, Clyde, and that's exactly what happened. At 3:12, Chick made a good run, but again, you come out of that pit, at least messed up, you're in trouble.
Well, what makes the Super Jeep super slick? Let's find out. David Chick off the line, starts to go out to the left, and never really gets it back. Crosses the finish line, the machine starts to careen into the right lane. Durbin has nowhere to go. The 2 drivers gain contact. Fortunately, nobody gets over. Charlie Durbin, though, runs a 3:09. He's down with Army to talk about it.
What did happen out there? You came out the end, then what happened?
The left side got me. Well, yesterday, the left side, I come to the right. Today, the left side come to the right, but I was in the right, and he got me.
So it's kind of like an old street fight slogan. If the left side don't get you, the right one will, right?
Left side got me. If I drive in, if I drive in the right, the left one comes across and gets me anyway. So can't get away from that left lane.
Well, coming up, Rob Marshall is suiting up. Will he beat the odds? Fred's calling the folks back home, telling them to turn on TNN. We've got one heck of a mud race going on here. The four-wheel jamborees are part of the Special Events Performance Series featuring a weekend of four-wheel fun. There's the manufacturer's midway, or check out all the chrome and polish of the show and shine competition. Contact the Special Events Promotion Company to find out more about the jamborees and other Special Events Performance Series events. Welcome back to Lima, Ohio. A contrast to some of the mud racing. Guaranteed they're not tearing any equipment up here, Army.
No, I tell you what, in the show and shine area, we have a plethora of chrome and candy apple. Quite the opposite on the other side of the fence, where it's a world of mud. You know, you might call this the lady in brown. If Darlington's the lady in black, in our sport, this has got to be the lady in brown.
Tom Martin in the Super Troopers up next. He finished second in the Class 5 cut tire competition. He'll be going up against Steve Behrman, the Class 6 winner at Indianapolis last year. And you can see Martin out of Portage, Indiana in the Super Trooper, the first of the corporate-sponsored cars.
Yeah, and the Behrman brothers, their father owns a big dairy farm operation up there. Steve doing the driving in this class out of Holland, Michigan, in a 27 Ford Roadster powered by an Audis Automotive, New York, built Chevrolet power plant. So this could be a good run here. Watch the flagman. The last thing he does, he'll duck. I love it. There he goes.
Well, Martin gets the shot, but let's see who wins it at the tape.
Behrman had a little problem with a 283, and he was crooked right off the starting line, Dave.
But Tom Martin at 2:899. Just a little bit slower as we take a look at the Fast Five. Shane Back gets on his back to a 2:47, and following him are Fred Wilhite, Jeremy Finley, Steve Behrman's run just a moment ago, good enough for fourth, and following him, Roger Sherwood. Talking about Steve Behrman, you're going to need a power washer to get all the mud off of that truck.
Speaking of power, look who's rolling out now. Dan Brown himself in the Mind Game, sponsored by the Whittier, California Blaze Blower Dry Service. He'll be going up against Tom Nyhus in the Rude Awakening vehicle. Rear engine against front motor. This could be a real good run here. It was a good run.
Especially considering it was a rear engine car. Tom Nyhus in Rude Awakening at 291 at 7.
Yeah, but the big story may be out of the lane. They called the bad lane with a 267. Dan Brown just built him a new road over there, and I think it was a freeway, as he lays down a shot as straight as an arrow out of that lane. Dave's caught up with him down in the pit area. Let's see what he has to say.
Dan Brown in Mind Games at 267. Good enough for third quick so far.
Oh, thank you, guys. I don't know. The BDS car was running okay, but we had didn't turn the R's. The thing's a little fat, but maybe that would have been okay because the line didn't have really anything to hook to out there. It seemed like it just was coming on awful strong, but we didn't run out of track.
Well, at the beginning of the show, Dave, you were talking about Rob Marshall, and can he beat the odds? That's the big question right now. Here comes your boys going to the line out of New Albany, Indiana, Rob Marshall.
Well, it's like Rob going up against the track, but the competitor is Rodney Covington. He's taken the wildest ride ever at the Allen County Fairgrounds in the mud rat. Both of these drivers knowing what it's like to get upside down here in Lima. Time to beat a 2:47.
Oh, wheels up, run, and one. It looks like your man's going over, Dave.
Oh, Rob Marshall beating the odds, but the odds get the best of him. Again, ending up upside down here at Lima. A tough break for Marshall.
Meanwhile, Covington goes to 267, so the track's not going away at all.
That's good enough for third place. As you can see, Rob Marshall climbing out of that race car once again. It's a tough thing to do here. He's got to be getting used to it, but the fans sure appreciate the run.
I bet he's thinking, I don't want to come back here and race ever again. Well, while they're riding the vehicle, we're going to go back and look and see if we can figure out what happened, because the run looked perfect. He comes out on a good start, makes a good straight run. The problem happened at the end, the back end starting to move a little bit to the left. He comes around, does not overcompensate. The left front wheel locks up. Now the right front wheel. Now he hooks a dry rut and just about made it over. Not going to be the case. Dave's with him down in the pit area right now. Dave?
Rob Marshall beating the odds. 2 for 2. They get you here out of that far lane again, but this one a little softer at least.
Well, that's true. This is a great track to run, I tell you. It seems to happen quite often. So,
what happened out there?
Well, I just got out of shape. I went towards the barriers, if I could have throttled it, I would have been able to pull out of it. But if I had, I'd have put it into him. So I tried a little bit, but it didn't seem to do much good.
At least the damage is not as bad for beating the odds.
It's not as bad as it was last year.
Well, like my old track coach said, if a frog had wings, we'll be back with more action later.
Sorry, Chris, I should have told you. Welcome back. The 2.479, the time to beat. Chuck Knoll will get a chance to see if he can beat it here in a minute. But first we take you inside the control room, and I guess that means it's time for some highlights. Well, this is a fine mess Joey Quick has found himself in, courtesy of this little tangle with a far lane. On a day like today, probably not the worst thing to happen. Joey, usually a pretty strong runner. He'll be back another time. A couple of naturally aspirated vehicles. Dave Bolser's live wire in the near, but watch the wild ride out of the far lane. Bob Dunham takes Rolling Thunder in the far lane. He was DQ'd. Next up, Gary Osteen in the new Dirty Bird body style. He joins the 2-second club here in Lima with this nice 2.98 rocket shot.
Meanwhile, back at the starting line with more action, Jeff Ballard rolls out in the Trash Rat. Now, this car took a flip a year ago when it was being driven by Stanley Trimble. He's a Kentucky school teacher. Ballard, the auto auctioneer we told you about, we call him the Colonel. Who's he going to be going up against? None other than Florida's own Al Stebbins. Makes a long trek up here. He won the class last year. We'd like to see if he can make it 2 years in a row, but he definitely has his work cut out for him. The big numbers are on the board, Dave.
Both these drivers getting into the stage areas. We get a chance to see the mug of Al Stebbins. Enterprise, Florida, the hometown, and he'd like to be an enterprising driver right here and kind of beat that 2.479. Let's find out if he can do it.
Whoa, Stebbins out of shape in one lane, back had his hands full in the other lane. Disqualification comes up official for Stebbins. Ballard a 3:05, so he had to backpedal. No way the number he was looking for, Dave.
Well, just 2 more bullets to dodge for Shane Back. He's the one in the middle sitting next to Fred Wilhite.
One of the two you got to dodge is the Psycho, and the other one the Stepchild. Now, both of these guys would go tap dancing in a minefield. I'm telling you, they got a mindset. They do not know what the word fear is.
The other guy you're talking about, Army, David Whitehurst out of Herndon, Virginia, drives the Psycho. That's a good name for that race car. Remember, though, Chuck Knoll is the guy that won the Class 6 championship in the Jamboree season last year.
You know, and I was noticing Knoll's doing what they call a dry hop in the sport of drag racing. They're trying to beat a 2:47. Both are staged. Whoa! Big hop out of Psycho, and Knoll's in trouble. Now Psycho's in trouble.
Well, both drivers keep it straight. They're the only two that can dethrone Shane Back. Chuck Knoll, not good enough at a 3:19. David Whitehurst, the Psycho machine, a 2:83. Shane Back is your winner.
Well, Shane Back, step on down here real quick. You're going to take the win. The notorious Lima track. A win with the flip, but a win is a win.
A win is a win. That makes the flip more worthwhile, I guess. We thank the good Lord everything was safe today, and we thank all of our sponsors, especially my engine man, Jerry Brumley. Had a little engine trouble before we gun, but I believe we got it worked out, and hope we make Wisconsin next weekend.
Well, over the top, getting a whole new meaning here today as Shane Back takes the win. Following him are Fred Wilhite and Rodney Covington. Dan Brown runs 4th with Jeremy Finley 5th. Let's send it over to Army with David Whitehurst.
Good run, sound like you're making a lot of horsepower, but a big bounce at the end of the track.
Yeah, the car hooked up great, ran straight, but the end of the track kind of veered off to the right, and there's a big bump out there, and it sent me airborne.
Tell you what, you almost have to be a psycho to drive one of these things.
Some of the driving we've seen here today, certainly testimony to that. Here's one more look at poor Charlie Durbin getting T-boned by David Chick and the Super Jeep. And then it's poor Rob Marshall just trying to avoid the same fate as last year. He didn't tear off the fiberglass, but he still ended up right on his hat. And then one last look at what it took to win here in Lima.
Boy, what a race. First and second place come out of one heat. But the winner had to get on his head to do it. You think these guys don't run on kill? You are wrong, my friend. Loving every minute of it, tearing up a lot of equipment, but hey, that's mud racing at the Jamborees, Dave.
And of course, one of the nice things we saw about this, Fred Wilhite out of that car immediately over to his competitor's side just to make sure everything was okay.
So once again, Lima, Ohio lives up to its billing of the track. It's really too tough to tame. A bunch of them got on top of their heads. They all walked away. They all got something to talk about tonight. We're looking forward to coming back to this place. Anytime they run at Lima, you're in for a nothing but action type racing.
That's certainly the case. So for Army Armstrong and our entire crew, I'm Dave Reif saying so long from Lima. It's certainly been our pleasure bringing you the Spring Jamboree Nationals. Trucks and Tractor Power is a presentation of Diamond P Sports in association with TNN, the Nashville Network.